So folks, in yesterday's session, we have completed a database overview. We have talked about three types of databases: Redshift, then Aurora, and just hold on. Yeah. Redshift and Aurora we talked about, right? So we have seen some demonstrations for Aurora and compared it with MySQL database, the traditional MySQL database. And we have seen that Aurora is going to provide. What is the major difference between Aurora and the other relational database? Aurora is a cluster of database. It is a cluster basically. Okay. And storage also, it is attached to the storage cluster, which spans multiple availability zone. And in every availability zone, 2 copies of your data will be kept. So overall, you will be having your 6 copies for high availability. And that was a very unique feature of Aurora. Yes. So today we are going to start about the, yes, I agree totally that it was pure theoretical, lots of the topics, especially Redshift. And I know if it is totally theory related thing and you do not see anything related to that, then it becomes a little bit difficult to understand, right? But we don't have any option for that. Even they have not included the lab for the Redshift here. Okay. But anyway, just at high level overview, you understand that Redshift is something which is the petabyte scale of storage, and it is, I will say, big data type of analytics, right? It's big data analytics, data warehousing, petabyte type of storage. So all these keywords are for the Redshift database. Yes. Now today we will start with Amazon database migration. Okay. Let us talk about the database migration service. It is known as DMS for short. That is the database migration service. Okay. Now we are going to talk about few key terms here. What is DMS basically? A replication instance, a task, source, target, SCT, that is the schema conversion tool, a DMS endpoints, as well as near continuous database replication. Near continuous, okay? Not continuous, near continuous database replication. So these are the key terms which are related to the database migration service. Let us start. Again, a theoretical topic. There is no much scope, or I will say no scope for me to demonstrate anything regarding that. Okay. So DMS helps you migrate your database to AWS quickly and securely. You know, folks, migration is always a pain. If you are migrating the database, it takes lots of planning, lots of efforts, and most of the time it becomes you come across lots of problems. Your migration fails because of any reason, then you just troubleshoot it and you start it again. So definitely it is a painful one. Okay. And lots of efforts are required for that. To overcome that, AWS is providing you the database migration service. The source database. Now, what are the key feature of this DNS? So see, when we say it is the migration, you are having one source database and you are having one destination database, right? So you are migrating from the source to the destination. Now, this source can be your AWS, this source can be your on-premise. Okay. The source can be the on-prem database server. So maybe in your on-premises, you are running a relational database server. Maybe it is MySQL, right? And now you want it to migrate to AWS. And while migration, see, there are 2 options. There are 2 options for you. So we already know AWS provides us MySQL service, right? We have seen it. MySQL service is also there. AWS MySQL. And even yesterday, I have shown you the demonstration. Second thing, I can migrate it to Aurora as well. So if it is MySQL to MySQL, it is known as homogeneous migration. And if it is from MySQL to some different engine, let us say Aurora, definitely it is compatible with MySQL. It is known as heterogeneous. homogeneous migration, heterogeneous migration. Now, it is not necessary that it is on premises. Even if you think it could be your Azure as well. Okay. It could be Azure, it could be GCP. And from that, you want to migrate your database to, let us say, AWS. So it is also possible. The source can be your on-prem, okay? Source can be your on-premises. It could be Azure, it could be GCP or maybe it could be any cloud service provider. And from that, you want to migrate it to AWS. Even a vice versa is possible. From AWS, you might want to migrate somewhere. So this is what the migration scenarios are. So if it is heterogeneous, especially, okay, heterogeneous, in which you are changing the database engine from source to destination. If it is the heterogeneous type of migration, then you will use the database migration service. Got it? So you are going to use the database migration service. So this database migration service will have two endpoints. One will be connected to your on-prem and one will be connected to your AWS. And now, because these are heterogeneous databases, folks, because these are heterogeneous, the schema might be different. Aurora, the schema can be different, and in on-prem, maybe the schema can be different. So you can always use SCT there. That is the schema conversion tool. So it is used to convert the schema. It is associated with the DMS. So first the schema is converted, then DMS will be used, and then the database will get migrated to the destination. Okay. So this is what the high level overview of the DMS is. It enables you to migrate your data to and from most widely used commercial and open source databases. By using this service, you can migrate the database management system to different DBMS service. For example, Oracle to Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server to Amazon Aurora. Applications can stay live on running during the migration. Now, this is very interesting. So when your migration is going on, it is not necessary that you are going to stop the source database. It remains fully operational. Okay. Your source database will remain fully operational even if the migration is going on. So these are the different scenarios. So see, you can migrate it between different sources, even S3. Okay. So, you know, in S3 also we can use the Athena or some such type of tools. So even if the S3 is there, you can migrate it to DynamoDB, Redshift, Aurora, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL, and so forth. High availability on DMS. AWS DMS can replicate data near continuously and lend itself to high availability. If needed, DMS enables consolidated database in a petabyte scale data warehouse into other Amazon services. Example of such services are Redshift and S3. Okay, so that is the reason they have mentioned those services here as well. The Redshift as well as S3. Okay. Syntax for migration conversion. So AWS DMS can migrate between structured query language and no SQL database. For example, SQL to SQL, no SQL to SQL, SQL to no SQL, and no SQL to no SQL. So this is what the homogeneous as well as heterogeneous I will say. For example, you can migrate Amazon S3 as a no SQL source to relational database service RDS as a SQL target. So from your S3, which is considered as a no SQL source, right? So if we are not having any schema defined, we can just store any unstructured data there using maybe in the JSON format, and I can migrate that data to relational database service as well. Types of database migration. Homogeneous database migration. So here it is Oracle, and here also it is Oracle. Okay. So in homogeneous database migration, the source and the target database engines are the same, or they can be compatible. Okay. So as we say, it is the MySQL and it is compatible to Aurora. Heterogeneous. Now it is Oracle here and Aurora here. Here MySQL database here and it is Aurora here. So you can use In heterogeneous, I will say migration, you can use the schema conversion tool known as SCT. So what is the first step? Most of the time you get this question, right? So you are migrating the heterogeneous database. So what should be your step? So first, are you going to use SCT or are you going to use the database migration service and then you are going to use the schema conversion? Okay, so this is very crucial. So your first step will be, initially you are going to use the schema conversion tool to convert the source schema and code to the to match with the destination or the target. And then once the schema conversion tool is used and you have converted the schema, then you are going to use the database. Got it, folks? So first step will be SCT and second step will be DMS. Expect such question in your exam. Okay. Now high level view again. At a high level, the database migration follows the following process. Connects the source data source, reads the source data, formats the data for consumption by the target, that is you are using SCT there, and then loads the data into the target data store. So these are the 4 steps. So what happens when you use DMS? You do the following. You create replication server. So what exactly this DMS is basically? It is nothing but a server. It is a instance. You create source and target endpoints that have connection information about your data source and create one or more migration tasks to migrate data between the source and the target source. A task. What exactly the task is? The task can consist of 3 major phases. The full load of existing data, the application of cached changes, and ongoing replication. So together, all these things are known as task when you are going to migrate the database. Okay. First, full load of existing data. Maybe you are having some cached contents. The application is using some cached and the cached contents are also there. And the ongoing replication. SCT, schema conversion tool. Most database migration involves 2-step, converting the schema by using SCT and then migrating the data by using DMS. AWS DMS along with SCT enables you to migrate your database while reducing the downtime. You do not need to make your database down, I will say, if your migration is going on. So that is very, I will say, advanced feature which is associated with this. Now what this SCT does, it helps you to convert Oracle and SQL Server code to equivalent code in Aurora MySQL, okay, and so forth. Conversion that AWS SCT support. What can be converted, what cannot be. So AWS SCT converts source database schema, waves, stored procedure, as well as functions. So folks, see, these terms are related to your databases. You might have seen all these terms, functions, stored process, waves, etc. in your database session, right? So AWS SCT converts all those. So source database and target database. Oracle, if your on-premises you are having Oracle database, it can be converted to Aurora, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB. Oracle data warehouse can be migrated to Redshift. Microsoft SQL Server can be migrated to Aurora, Redshift, MySQL, PostgreSQL, as well as MariaDB. Teradata. Now again, it is a third party, I will say. It is not available at all in cloud. It is not at all available in cloud. But again, Teradata is very equivalent to the data warehouse. So it can be migrated to Redshift. Same. IBM Netezza, again the same story. Redshift. Greenplum, Redshift. Vertica, Redshift. MySQL and MariaDB can be migrated to PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL at your on-premises can be migrated to Amazon Aurora, which is compatible to PostgreSQL, MySQL, MariaDB. And Aurora, Amazon Aurora. Now see, this is the source one. So it means that it is both of them are residing in your AWS, because you know Amazon Aurora cannot be available as the on-prem. Okay, it cannot be the on-premises. So it means that you are already having the Amazon Aurora in AWS and now you want to migrate it to the PostgreSQL. Yes, it is possible. IBM database can be migrated to Aurora, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Apache Cassandra, which is no SQL type of database, can be migrated to DynamoDB. Okay, so this is what we have seen. We have seen beneath the scene, the database migration server is nothing but a replication instance. Okay, and there are certain tasks which are nothing but the processes in which we have just mentioning the migration process, right? So the task is there, and source and target databases. So these are very important terms related to DMS: replication instance, task, source, as well as target. This is the architecture. Okay, so see, beneath the scene, this is nothing but the DMS is nothing but your EC2 instance, which performs the task. And task is the process. Task is the process. So this is your source and this could be your target. And this could be on-premises. Okay, so you can migrate your on-prem to AWS, AWS to on-prem and so forth. These are the possibilities over. Even, yeah, security. The replication instance runs in VPC and performs the work of database replication. The replication instance is in itself is highly available. The database migration service is highly available. It is multi-AZ deployment type. The primary replication instance is synchronously replicated across availability zone to a standby replica, which provides data redundancy. It can also be secure because its storage can be encrypted. Okay, so within the migration process as well, this can be encrypted, right? So DMS uses either a master key in your account key management system or your customer master key for encryption. Task is a replication task. It can be configured to migrate only existing data, migrate existing data and replicate ongoing changes, or it can only replicate the data changes as well. Okay, and source is the endpoint which can be running your on-premises, RDS as well as on EC2 instance. Target is the database on AWS most of the time. Okay, so what is the process? If you want to use DMS, first you create the replication server, then provide the source and destination endpoint, and then create the task. Now, what can be the database migration endpoints? Source and target combination. So, source or target on premises. Okay, so a little bit tricky to understand. Okay, this could be on premises and this could be AWS, right? Anyway, so it is just the same thing which we have seen, but it is not mentioned properly over here. Okay, now what do you mean by near continuous database replication? So close to near, okay, it is not the synchronous one. So when we say it is near continuous, it is not synchronous, and maybe it is not even totally asynchronous. Okay, it is near to the synchronous one. It enables you to replicate data on a schedule when maybe there is no such load on databases, no more tasks are going on your databases maybe. So you can create a schedule and maybe nightly, and those schedules will be the jobs definitely, and then it will go for the replication. AWS DMS is one-time data migration into database that are based in both RDS as well as EC2, and also near continuous data replication. Yes, this is we have seen. Okay, heterogeneous database replication means the source and the target can be any combination of the supported databases. See, it can be any, but definitely it should be supported on AWS. Okay, otherwise it is not possible. Its only requirement is that one end of the migration must be in the AWS cloud. One end. So yeah, it is understood, right? So it cannot be from GCP to Azure. Okay. So AWS has nothing to do with that then. So one end has to be in AWS. So it cannot be from GCP to Azure. It cannot be from your, I will say, on-prem to Azure. Okay, so definitely AWS has nothing to do with this. So one endpoint has to be in AWS. Either the source or the destination has to reside in your AWS. That is what the heterogeneous is. Not heterogeneous, even homogeneous. Okay, even homogeneous will be of the same type. Now, replication instance, it is nothing but the EC2 instance which is highly available and which is the it supports the multi-AZ deployment. That is for high availability. Okay. So in multi-AZ deployment, DMS automatically provisions, maintains a synchronous standby replica of the replication instance. See, when we are saying it is a multi-AZ type of replication, so this instance, which is the DMS instance, will have one instance as a standby instance running in different availability zone. Although we can see a single instance over here, okay, but beneath the scene, it will be having the multiple instances in multiple availability zone. The primary replication instance is synchronously replicated across availability zone to a standby replica. And this approach provides data redundancy, reduces input-output freezes, and minimizes the latency spikes. Okay, so this was just the high level overview. We don't have any. Yes, definitely you will be having one hands-on over here. Okay, so that will be very interesting one. The hands-on lab, I definitely cannot show you this, but yes, you are having the opportunity. So just whatever we have seen in the theory, try to implement it in the cafe activity. Let us see what exactly you are going to do. Okay. On completion of this project, yeah, that is the same story. We are not going to read the same again. Okay. You will migrate the cafe web application to use fully managed relational database service instance instead of the local database instance. So folks, if you remember, you have used LAMP, right? So we started this project from scratch. Okay, initially we had a static website. Then we have we have seen how to change the contents on the static website as well. That was the second part of the project or second task of the project maybe. Then we have used the dynamic website, right? In dynamic website, we have used EC2 instance and that user data script and so forth. And then we have used the LAMP as well. We have created LAMP in the elastic beanstalk. Maybe we have created this LAMP and it is having Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP. Okay, so this is something they are talking about. So right now, whatever we have done so far, we are having the instance. Okay, instead of the we are having the local database instance, that is the LAMP. And now that we are going to migrate it to MySQL. I don't know, means I hope it is MySQL. Otherwise, it could be even Aurora itself. Okay, let us see what the activity is. So it will be good hands-on for you for migration. So this is the new request from your client. Martha is concerned about business data is tracked in spreadsheet on a local laptop. Potential to lose financial point of scale, POS, and employee data. Spreadsheet is becoming challenging to use. So currently she is maintaining all her data on the spreadsheet on her laptop. Okay. Now, if EC2 instance that hosts the order history database fails, they will lose all their data. So that is their concern. So let us see what you are going to do. So now they are having a database request. She suggests a solution that aligns with best practices with the well-architected framework. Okay, all the cafe's order data is on one EC2 instance. This situation creates a potential for failure, which could shut them down. Alessandro suggests that The order history should be migrated to relational database service. Contact information for the cafe's supplies should also be imported from Martha's laptop to RDS. So two things they are going to migrate. Okay, so whatever they are having the local database, that will be the RDS. And again, whatever data Martha is maintaining on her laptop, that again will be migrated. Okay, so just go through this one so you will have a clear understanding. Take your time, read it carefully. Yeah. And now this is the activity. So right now you are having this mom and pop cafe web application that we have installed earlier, right? So that was on the lamp and yeah. It is t2.small, it is lamp, it is in public subnet and allow internet client to access the website. A CLI host EC2 instance resides the same subnet to enable administration. So they are providing you this CLI host. So using that, you are going to do all the management activities. That is the migration. Okay. So what are the steps? You will migrate the local cafe database to RDS database that resides outside the EC2 instance. The RDS database will be deployed in the same VPC as the EC2 instance. Now, during the migration process, you will build the components that are illustrated in this diagram. And these components include two private subnet in different availability zone, a security group for the database instance, and the RDS database instance itself. So see, you are going to create all this infrastructure first. And once your RDS is ready, then you are going to migrate the data. Okay, so let us see the actual lab. Please go through this activity carefully, folks. Okay, before you start performing the lab, I've just given the high level overview of that, but I want you to read it in depth, okay, so that your understanding become much more clear. Now, this is what you are going to do. Okay. You migrate in this lab the Cafe Web application to use fully managed RDS. So this is your starting architect. The topology of the Cafe Web application runtime environment before migration, that is the LAMP and the CLI host. Okay, so this is your, so when you start your lab, you just verify it is something like this. So this CLI host and this instance, right now they are in the same public subnet. Okay, Cafe's public subnet 1, which is in availability zone 1, which is in VPC, this Cafe VPC with this CIDR, and these are the two instances. Now, once you done with your lab, your architecture will be something like. So now you are having two private subnets here, private subnet 1, private subnet 2, and this is the public subnet. So from this public subnet, you are going to migrate your application maybe into the private subnet. Okay, so this should be your output. So do it mindfully, do it carefully. Okay, so once you do it, once you understand all the steps, it becomes very good hands-on. Okay, so although it is a lengthy lab, do it very carefully. It may take a little bit more time as well, but do it properly. Okay, so all the steps has been mentioned. Let me just check whether it is, yes, it is regarding the CLI only. Okay, that is why they have given the CLI host. So here you are creating a security group. And in that security group, you are opening port 3306, which is for the database. Yesterday we have seen this one. Okay. Then you are going to check the security group. That is the command. Describe security group is the command to check your security groups. Once done, then you are going to create the subnet, and that will be the private subnet with the CIDR block. Two private subnets you are going to create. And the CIDRs has been given already. Okay, then you are going to create RDS. So yesterday I have shown you this, okay, but it was the console way. But here you are going to do it using the CLI. So this will be the subnet group name in which your database instance will be residing, the IDs and so forth. Now creating Amazon RDS MariaDB instance. Okay, you are going to create MariaDB instance. So these are the properties they have already defined. What you are going to select. This is the name, engine, version, storage, availability zone, subnet group, security group, public accessibility, no, username, root, and password. See, folks, yesterday we have done the same thing. Everything I have shown you, except the change is that they have taken MariaDB and I have taken yesterday MySQL. Okay. Rest, almost everything was same with few changes. I have taken t2.micro. They are taking t3.micro. I had taken username as admin. They are taking it as root. But anyway, so this information now you are providing in form of command. Okay, see each and everything. Database instance identifier. This is the name. Engine, MariaDB, version. Then instance class, 32.micro. Storage, 20 GB. Availability zone. So that you have already fetched from the previous command. Again, subnet group, you have used previous commands, right? For finding the availability zone and the subnet group, so forth. So you can just refer to that command. Once that is done, security group ID, again, take it from the previous command. No publicly accessible, username root, and password restart 9. So once that is done, you can see your RDS running by using the command RDS describe database instance. And it is going to show you all the features which is associated with your database. Now the last task is migrating the application to RDS. Okay. So initially you are going to create a dump. So take this one very seriously, which is very important. You are going to provide the username and password of the person who is having permission. So definitely this is the admin user. And this is the cafe database, your source database. You are going to dump it first. And that will be cafe database backup.sql. So this is the name of the dump maybe. Okay. So once that is done, okay, so now you are going to use this endpoint address of the database which we have created earlier. MySQL -h, right? So yesterday I used the same command -h, and this is the endpoint of your relational database. So what you want to migrate, that cafe database backup.sql, and these are the usernames and password. Okay. So once the migration is done, you can use the SQL queries to check. Okay, folks. So try to do this. Okay, lengthy one, but try to complete. If at all you find it difficult at any stage, please let me know. Now let us go for this 215 case, everyone. Okay. Which fully managed AWS relational database service is compatible with MySQL and PostgreSQL? Yes?
Redshift.
No? No, no, no.
Then Aurora, ma'am.
Yes. Aurora is the correct answer. Okay. A customer has decided to migrate from MySQL database that runs in their data center. So this is the on-prem to RDS for MySQL. Their database must remain fully operational during the migration. In addition, the customer would like to automate the data transformation when the data is migrated to AWS, which AWS service or feature should the customer use? कुछ चॉइस है यहाँ, एक ही तो आंसर दिख रहा है. Yes? It is the DMS service. Okay? You are going to use the database migration service. So if you are using this, both your source and destination will remain operational. Even you can convert, means transformation is also possible using the schema conversion tool. So correct answer is DMS. Which AWS service is fully managed data warehouse that customers can use to run complex analytic queries? So see, there are two keywords here. Data warehouse service, which is used to run analytical queries. Yes, what is the correct answer now? Nobody? It is Redshift. It is fully managed data warehouse service that we have seen yesterday, right? It is the data warehouse service and it is used to for big data analytics type of things. So Redshift is the correct answer. Which task is a database user responsible for when they manage the database service in AWS? Come on. What is your responsibility when you create database using managed database service? That is the relational database service. Yes.
Application optimization.
Yes. That is the only thing you are responsible for. Server maintenance, operating system patches, database patches, everything will be taken care by AWS. Okay. You will just be responsible for your application optimization. Very good. Which two AWS services supports no SQL application? No SQL. Very simple question. Very simple. No. Ravinder, it is completely wrong answer. It is no SQL. RDS is SQL databases, relational databases. So first is the very wrong answer. Yes,
Second and third.
second and third. Perfect. DynamoDB and Neptune. Neptune is a graph database. Okay. What I will do, I will quickly take you to this one so that when you see this, it becomes easy. Let me go to databases. See, there are two types of databases, relational database as well as non-relational database. In the relational database, data is stored in tables. So tables will be having some defined columns, for example, ID, product name, size, price. So these you have to define beforehand. And once it is created, then you just migrate your data or put your data in the database using different ways. Maybe you can run the SQL queries, you can export it and whatever. So this is what the relational database is. But in non-relational database, it is a key value database. It is a key value database. It is also known as NoSQL database. Why relational database is known as SQL database? So see, these are very important one. It is the SQL database and it is no SQL. Why it is SQL? Because we can use SQL queries on relational database. Okay. So to create, to delete, to put object, whatever task you want to do, you can use the SQL queries for that, SQL language for that, in fact. And here it doesn't support SQL queries. That's why it is known as no SQL database. Second thing, you do not define this ID, product name, size, price beforehand. It is not required. It is a key value database. These attributes can be totally different. See, name, address, and favorite drink. Name, address, and birthday. So, birthday is not here and favorite drink is not here. This flexibility is there in NoSQL database, which is not possible in your relational. So, here I would have to mention the birthday, for example. Okay, so actually the contents are different, but birthday and favorite drink has to be defined beforehand. So, if it is not applicable here, then I have to mention something. Okay, it cannot be empty. And if it is not applicable here, I have to mention. Then I can put some data here, some data. So this needs to be defined beforehand. But it is not required in your NoSQL databases, which are DynamoDB. Okay. So in relational database, data is stored in a way that relates it to other pieces of data, and we can use structured query language to store and query data. What are the features? It operates and scale a relational database in the cloud. This service, relational database service, it automates the time consuming administrative tasks. You do not need to worry about creating the EC2 instance, patching the operating system, installing the database application, patching the database application, managing high availability, scalability, backup. Okay, so these things are not at all required from your end. That administrative task will be taken care by this managed service, and that is the reason it is known as managed service. You can store and transmit data securely. How? Because relational database supports encryption at rest and encryption at transit as well. So whether your data is at rest or whether it is getting transmitted, it will have the encryption feature. So these are the RDS database engines available: Aurora, PostgreSQL, MySQL, MariaDB, Oracle, as well as Microsoft SQL. So these are the engines supported in relational database. And then Aurora. Aurora is Amazon's own relational database service. It is again relational database, okay, but it is the cloud database. It is cloud native. We cannot create Aurora in your on-prem. Now, what is the features of Aurora? It stores data in enterprise class relational database. Yesterday, we have seen it is having a storage cluster. Okay, we do not define storage here. It is automatically going to expand. Cost-wise, it is more cost effective as you compare to the commercial database. It is closer to the open source database. But feature-wise, it is as good as the commercial database. It replicates 6 copies of your data across 3 availability zones. This is Aurora. Then non-relational database. It is known as NoSQL. Now, it uses structures other than rows and columns. Now, it can be key value database. It can be, I will say, document database. It can be graph database as well. So, graph is one of the example. So, these are supported here. So, this is the same example again. DynamoDB. It is a serverless key value database. It automatically scales to adjust for capacity changes and consistent performance. You do not need to worry about the scaling. And it is designed to handle 10 trillion requests per day. This is for the DynamoDB database. You must have covered it earlier. And this is the database migration service. Migrate relational database, non-relational database, and other types of data stores as well. So this is the source, this is the destination, and this is the database migration service. Okay, now please give me this answer. For each scenario, your answer will be either RDS or DynamoDB. Okay, number 1.
मैम RDS.
RDS. Very good. Number 2,
RDS.
no. RDS is not serverless. RDS is not serverless. This is serverless. Okay. DynamoDB, which is the NoSQL database. It is the serverless database. Number 3,
मैम strong data में key value database. की वैल्यू मैम की वैल्यू तो डायनामोडीबी में.
हाँ, DynamoDB ही है. See, what we have seen, DynamoDB is serverless key value database. DynamoDB is serverless key value database. These are the keywords for this DynamoDB, which is NoSQL database, right? So what was the question? Storing data in key value database. Your answer must be DynamoDB. Yes. Using SQL to organize the data.
RDS.
RDS. Scaling up to 10 trillion requests per day. Such a high throughput. Which
RDS.
database? Yes?
मैम अभी आपने बताया तो शायद RDS ही बताया.
No, no, no.
1 trillion. Yes मैम. डायनामोडीबी.
It's DynamoDB. And storing data in Aurora. Yes, Aurora.
Aurora is RDS.
RDS. Okay. Aurora is RDS. So folks, see, अगर इसके आंसर्स नहीं देते आए आपको, so you need some introspection there. Okay. So आपको फिर से जाके पढ़ना है. These are very simple questions and I was just getting answer from a single participant today and others are just, I don't know whether you are there in the session or not. Okay. So as I told you always, आपके आंसर गलत हो सकते हैं definitely, but it is a good way to evaluate yourself. यही इवेल्युएशन का टाइम है बिकॉज वी वेरी सून यू आर गोइंग टू फेस योर इंटरव्यूज ओके एंड जस्ट ट्राई टू वर्क ऑन योर बेसिक्स. What are the additional database services in AWS? AWS supports Amazon Redshift, which is used to query and analyze data across data warehouse. DocumentDB, it is compatible to MongoDB. Neptune, it is again a NoSQL database, but it is a graph database. QLDB, Quantum Ledger database. It supports blockchain, it supports Elastic Cache as well as DynamoDB Accelerator. So apart from the engines which we have seen earlier, the 6 engines for MySQL maybe. Okay, so this was for MySQL. Okay, not MySQL, sorry. A relational database. This was for relational database. Apart from that, and apart from DynamoDB, these are there. Okay, fine. So which 2 database services support NoSQL applications? So correct answers were Amazon DynamoDB and Amazon Neptune. Okay. Now let us start with networking overview. So we are back to our networking topic again. So this will be a quick revision again. Okay. And after this, we will be not coming back to the networking topic again. This is the last time we are going to elaborate the networking. Even the same with database. Abhi database pe nahi aana hai fir se. Okay. That was the last slide I have covered for the database. And now this is the last time we are going to have the networking as well. So see, take it as an opportunity. So instead of revising and going back, if you just concentrate on this session as well, and if you just recall what we have learned earlier, it is a quick revision. You will be able to answer all the interview questions. If you are finding something difficult, you can ask me now. Okay, I will try to explain that concept as well. Now we are going to talk about cloud networking. And see, nothing will be new here. सब कुछ हमने ऑलरेडी किया है. एवरीथिंग, VPC, सबनेट, सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप, नेटवर्क इंटरफेसेस, इंटरनेट गेटवे, वर्चुअल प्राइवेट गेटवे, कस्टमर गेटवे, क्लासलेस इंटरनेट डोमेन राउटिंग. सो कोई भी टर्म ऐसा नहीं लग रहा है यहाँ कि जो हमने पहले नहीं देखा है. ओके, एंड दैट इज द रीजन आई एम सेइंग, ऑल्दो हम इसमें बहुत डीप जाने वाले हैं, बट इट विल बी द गुड अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर यू to revise your networking concepts as well. Okay, so let me start. Amazon VPC. So again, VPC is not new to us, right? So just have a quick recall of the networking topic from here and then we will go little bit deeper. See, सिर्फ ये slide पे नहीं रुकना है हमें. अभी हम बहुत डिटेल में नेटवर्किंग पढ़ने वाले हैं in this module. So now this is the example of coffee shop. Customers are there and customers want to have a coffee, but first of all they need to pay to the cashier. Once the payment is done, then only the coffee will be served. This is the rule, right? This is the rule. So पहले payment करना है फिर ही coffee मिलेगा. So in that case, what you want to follow this flow. You do not want customers to give their orders directly to barista. We do not want this. So what we can do, we can create different compartments in the coffee shop and all the outsiders will just be able to communicate with that one, and that the cafeteria or maybe the kitchen area, it is just restricted. It is just for the employees. Okay, it is not for the customers. So only cashier can communicate with the barista. So this we have already seen. Just a minute. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we were talking about this scenario, right? We do not want customers to directly communicate with the barista. So if you compare these two as our servers, maybe, okay, your servers in your, this is the web server and this could be the database server, right? So now we can create something our own network here. So restaurant is your own network for the time being. The coffee shop is your network, but in that we are creating two subnets in which just cashier will be sitting and in another subnet barista will be there. But this is the internet traffic 0.0.0.0/0. It will just be able to communicate with the web server, not the database server. And this is what is the private subnet and this is what is the public subnet. So internet traffic is just allowed in the public subnet. Internet traffic cannot go directly to the public to the private subnet. So this is the concept of VPC. VPC is your own private isolated network in AWS. When we launch our resources, means EC2 instances, those resources will sit inside the VPC. But now these resources cannot sit directly inside the VPC. There must be subnets. Okay. So unless and until there is at least one subnet, we cannot create our EC2 instance there. Now it is your choice. If you want to create it in public subnet, you can launch it in public subnet. Otherwise, you can launch it in private subnet. What is the difference? If you launch it in the public subnet, it will have public IP address as well as private IP address. But if you launch it in the private subnet, it will just have private IP address. Instances in private subnet does not have public IP address. So using the private IP address of this instance and private IP address of this instance, this communication is possible. Your web server will be able to communicate with your database server using this private IP address. Okay. And outside people will be able to communicate with this web server using the public IP address. So this is the scenario now. We have to create subnet. At least one subnet has to be there. The subnet can be public or private. Now, what exactly the public and private scenario is? We have seen it already. So if we know internet gateway is always attached to the VPC, but the route to the internet gateway, how to go to that internet gateway, it is just defined in the public subnet route table. Okay, so if I just take you to my account and let me just go to VPC service here. So see, in my account, there are multiple VPCs, Pune VPC, Delhi VPC, default VPC. Every account will have the default VPC, every region, sorry. In your account, in every region, you will have a default VPC. And that default VPC will always have a fixed CIDR, that is 172.168.0.0/16. So if you remember your networking class, we can just give IP addresses to the VPC from the defined private IP address ranges. Now, what are the private IP address ranges? So these are the RFC defined, request for comment defined. Okay. So these are the RFC defined IP addresses, 10.0.0.0 till 10.255.255. 172.16.0.0 till 172.31.255.255. 192.168.0.0 till 192.168.255.255. So this is /16, this is /12, and this is /8. So these are the defined private IP addresses. So even we have seen it earlier. If you are using the home network, home router, your IP address will be from this range only. But what is the difference in AWS? In AWS, that CIDR can be between 16 till 28 only. Okay. So what is the thumb rule? If you are using 16, let us say, you will be having 65,535 IP addresses available. And if you are using /28, you will just be have 16 IP addresses. Okay, so definitely 16 is not a big number. So what we usually do when we create the VPC, we assign /16 there, right? And for the subnet, we can assign any number between this. So it is ideally, if I just want to create a VPC, I will create it using, let us say, 192.168.0.0/16. And then if I'm creating two subnet inside it, what I will do, I will give 192.168, third octet I will use for subnet addressing maybe, and I can use /24. If I wish, I can use /20 as well. 192.168.2.0/20. Okay, so this is first subnet, this is second subnet. So I have just taken 1 and 2 for understanding it clearly, right? But unless and until these subnets are there, we cannot create the instances. So when we launch our instances, they will go either in public or in private. So what exactly the public and private is? Now, when you create the VPC, when you create public and private subnet, okay, you will always have the internet gateway attached to the VPC. And what is internet gateway? It is taking you to the outside world, right? And again, the outside traffic is allowed through this internet gateway. So I have used the word open door here. It is just the open door. It allows all the traffic from the internet, that is 0.0.0.0, to come inside the VPC, and all the traffic from your VPC to go outside. But that all traffic is just from the public subnet. Why? See, there is a rule. Now, if I just go to the VPC here, okay, and if I just go to subnet, so this is my default VPC, or let me take my Pune VPC. Okay, so this is my Pune VPC. if I go to Pune VPC, and if I go to subnet, I can see there are two subnet. One is public subnet and one is private subnet. Now, if I just select this public subnet, and if I just go to root table here, see, what is the root table? 192.168.0.0/16, that is the CIDR of my VPC, should stay local. But 0.0.0.0 should go to internet gateway. So if this entry is there, this entry, second entry, it means it is the public subnet. Merely naming the subnet as public subnet is not going to make it public. And if you go to private subnet, and if I go to root table, now see, there is no entry for the internet gateway. The only rule is something like this. So now see, folks, okay. So when you create your VPC, we have to define the CIDR. So let us say 192.168.0.0/16. This is the CIDR for my VPC. We know inside the VPC, there is always a router. Although we do not access it directly, but yes, there is a router. And that router helps for internal communication as well as outside communication as well. Now, assuming this is my public subnet and this is my private subnet. So when you create the VPC, a default rule will get created. And that rule is 192.168.0.0/16 should stay local. This is the root table for my VPC. So it means that whenever the source and destination IP address is from this range, that traffic should be routed inside the VPC only. Okay, it should not go outside the VPC. That is what this route indicates. Fine. Now this route will be inherited by both the subnet. My public subnet will inherit that rule 192.168.0.0/16 should stay local. And again, my private subnet will have the same rule 192.168.0.0/local. From where it is coming? It is coming from my VPC. My subnets are inheriting those rules. Okay. But for public subnet, now one more rule will be there. And that is 0.0.0.0 should go to internet gateway. Okay. So now, although we say the internet gateway is there attached to the VPC, but actually that internet gateway is just serving your public subnet. Your private subnet instance cannot go outside, or neither the traffic from the internet can come inside to your private subnet using that internet gateway. Okay. So internet gateway is just there for your public subnet. So this is the internet gateway. So whenever the traffic comes in from the internet, okay, it will go to the internet gateway. And in turn, internet gateway will forward it to the public subnet. Okay, but definitely it is through router only. So every communication is happening through router. Okay. Now, if it is not the public subnet and if it is the private subnet, so we know databases are kept in private subnet. Now, there is no internet gateway here. So if you want to establish the communication between your on-premises data center to your private subnet, so you create VPN connection. And VPN connection is the secure connection. It uses IPsec protocol for encryption. So this connection is encrypted connection. Okay. But it is just one way. It is just one way. So from your corporate data center only, the traffic can go to your private subnet. From your private subnet, the traffic cannot go to the outside, right? So this is not possible. So if you want to have that scenario as well. So for example, your database server wants to go to the internet, maybe to download the patches or the update something. Then what is necessary? In your public subnet, there must be something which is NAT gateway or NAT instance. Okay. So these services has to be there, NAT gateway or NAT instance. Okay, folks. So what I will do now, just to make it a little bit clear. And yes, so if you want to establish this VPN connection at your VPC end, you need this device, which is virtual private gateway. So virtual private gateway at VPC end and customer gateway at on-premises end. So these are the two endpoints, customer gateway as well as virtual private gateway. VPN connection is established between these two gateways and it is private connection. Nobody except your on-premises will be able to communicate with your databases. And there is one more option. You can create a dedicated point-to-point connection between your on-prem and your VPC. Okay. And that is known as DX. It is private. It is just for you as compared to the previous one. Because see, VPN was established on the internet and internet is the public network. Internet is the public network. Anybody can use that. But this one, this DX connection is just for you. And that is why it is known as private connection. But you need to have some service providers for that. You need to communicate with the service providers who are eligible to give you those connections. It is going to, in this way, your data is just going to transfer through the lease line, which is just for you. You will get a good bandwidth, right? And it is not encrypted. Okay, by default, it is not encrypted. But if you want the encryption, you can establish VPN connection on top of it. So if you establish VPN connection on top of it, you will get the encryption option as well. Okay. Come on, answer these questions. Number 1. What should be the correct match? Yes? Nobody? Come on, try to give answer. It could be wrong. I am here. I am going to explain you if your answer is wrong. So see, now we are at the stage when you are going to appear for your interviews, folks. Okay, so don't take it lightly. Just don't take it lightly. Okay, you should be able to answer it clearly. If you do not understand the concept, please let me know. I will repeat it again and again. Okay, but I want a response from your side. Otherwise, I'm just feeling that nobody is there in the session. This is what my feeling is today. Except one participant. Nobody is answering today.
Ma'am, private subnet.
Isolate database containing your customer's personal information. Yes, the correct answer is private subnet. What is the second option? What should be the second match?
Direct connect.
Private gateway. This is the correct answer. Number
Ma'am,
3. Yes. Number 1. Public subnet. And fourth, we don't have any option. So it is the direct connect, right? So establish a dedicated connection between your on-premises data center and VPC. It is nothing but your direct connect. Okay. So this we have already seen. Let me just quickly revise the network access control list as well as security groups. So now, when we create the EC2 instance, when we launch the EC2 instance, we cannot create it without the security group. And that we have seen multiple times. So there are 2 ways. Now, if I just take you back to my console again, and let me just try to create one EC2 instance. Once that is done, I will just elaborate everything from the VPC. Okay, so first of all, let me just clear this one. Where last time I am going to elaborate this. इसके बाद security group के बारे में कोई भी discussion नहीं होगा. And remember, this is very important service. Okay, so if I try to launch the EC2 instance, see, just try to understand the difference. Let us say I want to launch the Linux machine. Okay, Linux. AMI. Let me select AMI. Let me select any Linux. Let me select Linux 2023 maybe. Or maybe I want to select this. Linux 2. Instance type t2.micro. Let me select the key pair. And there comes the network set. Okay. So from here, by default, your instances will always go to the default VPC. Now this default VPC has the CIDR 172.16. Okay. 172.16.0. Sorry, 172.31, not 16. I'm extremely sorry. .172.31.0.0 20/16. Okay. And you know, this default VPC does not have private subnet. Default VPC में private subnet है ही नहीं. Okay. And there are only public subnets, and public subnets be depending upon the availability zone. Now, for example, if it is my Oregon region, okay, if it is my Oregon region, and you know, in Oregon region, if I just go to EC2 dashboard once again, just let me go back. So see, I am in Oregon region. Oregon region में कितने availability zones है? US West 2A, 2B, 2C and 2D. There are 4 availability zones in Oregon region. So Oregon region में 4 public subnets है. Okay. So how many public subnets are there in Oregon region? A, B, C and D. But remember, all these are the public subnet. Similarly, if I go let us say to some different region, maybe I go to North Virginia. In North Virginia, you are having 6 availability zone. US East 1A, B, C, D, E and F. So how many public subnets are there in North Virginia? 6 subnets. Okay. So it will have 6 subnets, 6 public subnets, E as well as F. But remember, in default VPC, there is no private subnet. And that is the reason आप खुद का VPC क्यों बनाते हो? अगर although वहां default VPC है, why are you creating your own VPC? One reason could be you want to have private subnet to isolate your resources. Okay. So that could be one reason. Now I am talking about the security group. Let me go back to the security group once again. So let us say I'm launching an instance and I want it to create in the default VPC itself. Okay. And now if I can do it from here. So if I just select edit, so I can select the VPC and then comes the subnet. So as I told you, in default VPC, and now right now I'm in Oregon. So how many subnets are there? 4 subnets. A, B, C and D. Okay, so let us say I want to launch it in A subnet. And yes, it is the public subnet, and that is the reason the default option is enabled. But yes, it is also possible if I do not want public IP address, although my EC2 instance is getting created in the public subnet, it is perfectly fine, no issue. Now what could be the scenario? ये scenario क्या हो सकता है? देखो, ये scenario ऐसा हो सकता है. So let us say आपको database बनाना है. Okay. And you want to create the database in default VPC only because आपको नहीं बनाना आता है VPC. Okay. So you don't know, you don't have networking knowledge. और इसलिए आप क्या चाहते हो कि आपका database जो है वो default VPC में ही बने. And we know in default VPC there are just public subnet. There are no private subnet. So let us say you created your database here. But you know, databases should be secure. They should not be getting accessed publicly. ये नहीं होना चाहिए, right? And one of the reason why they are getting publicly accessible is that instances in public subnet have public IP address by default. But if you do not want that, you can deselect it. Okay, you cannot see, you just opt for not having the public IP address. Fine. फिर ये database के साथ कैसे communicate करोगे? You can have something which is known as jump host. Okay, bash and host, jump host. So सबसे पहले इसके साथ communicate करना है, and this will communicate with this database instance using the private IP address because now this instance does not have the public IP address. Although it is in public subnet, लेकिन फिर भी हमने क्या select किया है? हमें public IP address नहीं चाहिए. क्यों? Because we do not want it to be accessible publicly. Okay, so see, so this could be the option. But anyway, I want to enable it. But right now, I want to concentrate on the security group. See, so this security group I am creating while launching the instance. और मैंने operating system कौन सा select किया है? Linux select किया है. And because I am creating this EC2 instance, at the time of creating the instance, security group जो बनता है और जो बनाया जाता है उसमें by default वो एक rule मुझे बताता है, and that is SSH for anywhere. Why SSH? Because I have selected Linux operating system. Let me go for Windows. Okay, for example, I don't want to go for Linux. I want to go for Windows. See what happens now. Let me just select any operating system, any instance type, any key pair maybe, and again the VPC and C. But security group में अभी देखो क्या difference. Now it is opening RDP port 4000. So this is happening when we are creating the EC2 instance, or rather we are selecting this option create security group while launching the instance. लेकिन अगर ये security group पहले ही बना रहे हो आप, okay, before and you are creating it, how? For that you go to EC2 dashboard and there comes the security groups option, and let me create the security group here. Okay, now let us say this is test security group something. Now see the difference. Security groups are VPC specific. So पहले मुझे select करना है मैं ये कौन से VPC के लिए बना रही हूँ. So I have three options: Pune VPC, Delhi VPC या default VPC. Now if I want to go for default VPC, maybe I will select that. But anyway, the inbound rules are not. Okay, so see, this security group has no inbound rule, and outbound rule, everything is permitted. So what is the default nature now? When you create the security group from the security group wizard, okay, no inbound traffic is defined. It means no ports are open for inbound traffic. लेकिन outbound traffic is already allowed. Okay, so see, outbound traffic के लिए कुछ भी problem नहीं है. All traffic is allowed to anywhere. लेकिन no inbound rule is defined. So this is the default nature of the security. Okay, and अगर ये security group अभी मैं test security group जो है वो default VPC के लिए बना रही हूँ, then I will not be able to use that security group when I am going to launch my resources, maybe in Pune or maybe Delhi VPC. So remember, security groups are VPC specific, and default there is no inbound rule, and by default all traffic is allowed outside. This is what the security group is. But when we create the VPC, okay, now let me go back to my VPC to show you the network access control list. Now see, this is my Pune VPC. I am having two subnet, public subnet as well as private subnet. Now if I go to the public subnet or private subnet, whatever, here you see something which is network access control list, because network access control list are subnet level firewall. Security group are EC2 level firewall. This network access control list is subnet level firewall. Now if you just go down, so just two rules are there. Rule number 100, what it is showing? It is showing that all traffic from all port, from all source is allowed. See, this is a difference. In network access control list, you have the option to allow or deny, which is not there in security group. See, security group जब बना रहे हैं हम लोग, so rule add कर रहे हैं, लेकिन what are the option? We are going to select the traffic, for example SSH, TCP port and the source. Let us say this, and that's all. Are you getting allow or deny option? No. इसका मतलब है जब आप यहाँ सिलेक्ट कर रहे हो वो बाय डिफॉल्ट अलाउड है, और जो नहीं सिलेक्ट कर रहे हो वो बाय डिफॉल्ट डिनाइड है. So for example, if I am just selecting SSH, I have not selected HTTP, I have not selected RDP. So that is the explicit denied in that case. Okay, so it means RDP and HTTP will not be allowed because it is not defined here. There is no allow or deny button here. The allow and deny button you will get when we create the network access control list. Network access control lists are subnet level firewall. Okay, and see, so all traffic is allowed by default. लेकिन नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट जो है वो रूल्स को ऑर्डर में इवैल्यूएट करती है. सो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इट मींस? इट मींस दैट पहले 100 रूल इवैल्यूएट किया जाएगा. ओके, पहले 100 वाला रूल इवैल्यूएट किया जाएगा. अगर ये सेटिस्फाई नहीं हो रहा है फिर उसके बाद ही नेक्स्ट रूल पे जाना है. बट हियर द नेक्स्ट रूल इज जस्ट द ऑल everything, right? Asterisk, it means that कि जो rule ये follow नहीं कर रहा है, by default वो सभी deny हो. Okay, so this is the network access control list. I can edit the network access control list as well. Okay, if you wish, you can edit this network access control list. So you can edit this inbound rule, outbound rule, everything for this one. Okay, we will see it. But this is the network access. It is the subnet level file. Now, if I go to the private subnet, again, network access control list is there, and you can see same rule is there. This is the default rule. What that default rule is doing, actually, it is just allowing everything. But there is no only inbound rule. Now there should be outbound rule. So again, all the outbound traffic is permitted. Network access control lists are stateless firewall, and security groups are stateful firewall. Okay, security groups are stateful firewall. Now, what is the difference? The difference is that in security group, you just defined inbound rule. Okay, you just defined inbound rule. You do not need to define the outbound rule because the response to that inbound rule is already been permitted. जो अभी हमने देखा. Okay, all traffic was permitted outbound, but nothing was permitted inbound. So that is the stateful nature. The response will always be allowed. But in stateless, अगर आप inbound rule define कर रहे हैं, तो आपको outbound rule भी define करना पड़ेगा. By default, आपको network access control list को change करने की जरूरत ही नहीं. The reason is that the default network access control list allows all inbound traffic and all outbound traffic. This is the default network access control list. This is the one which I am showing you right now. Okay, so अभी जो आपने देखा है, so ये default network access control list है, this one. Okay, and what is the inbound rule? Inbound rule is all traffic is allowed. Okay, and even all traffic is allowed outside as well. Outbound. Outbound rule is also allowing everything, and inbound rule is also allowing everything. But this was not happening with the security group, right? Security group जब हमने बनाया, so inbound कुछ भी नहीं था, ये हमने बनाया. Okay, so initially it was nothing. We added the rule, but outbound we do not need to. So this nature कि इनबाउंड कुछ नहीं है, आपको इनबाउंड डिफाइन करना पड़ता है, लेकिन आउटबाउंड डिफाइन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. जब ऑल आउटबाउंड डिफाइंड है, इट इज नोन एज स्टेटफुल. एंड दिस नेचर, ओके, सो दिस नेचर जहां आपको इनबाउंड एज वेल एज आउटबाउंड रूल दोनों भी डिफाइन करने पड़ते हैं, दैट इज नोन एज स्टेटलेस फाइल. ओके, बट यू नो everybody is not networking expert. So AWS ने क्या किया है? AWS ने आपके लिए डिफॉल्ट नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट बना के ही रखी. अगर आपको डिफॉल्ट नेचर ओके है, यू डू नॉट डू एनीथिंग. ओके, सो हमने बार बार अभी तक सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप बनाया है, लेकिन कभी भी नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट नहीं बनाया है. व्हाट इज द रीजन? बिकॉज द डिफॉल्ट नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट डज सपोर्ट एवरीथिंग इनबाउंड एंड एवरीथिंग आउटबाउंड एज वेल. ओके, लेकिन if you are not okay with the default network access control list, you can create your custom network access control list. But when you are going to create your custom network access control list, you know you have to define inbound as well as outbound rule as well. Okay, so if I go there in my console and if I just scroll down here, I can see network access. Okay, network access control list. Let me create network access control list. Now this is not the default one. Okay, this is not the default one. I am creating it. This is known as custom network access control list. Now let us say it is demo network access control list. So again, this is related to VPC. Okay, this is related to VPC. So what I want to do, I want to create it for Pune VPC. Okay, Pune VPC. Now let me create network access control list. Now once this is created, let me This is the network access. Now see, once it is created, I have to define inbound as well as outbound. Let us see one by one. So अगर मैं inbound में जाती हूँ, nothing is there. See, by default everything is denied. This is what it is. If you are creating your own network access control list, nothing will be allowed by default. Nothing will be allowed. Now I will edit this. So while editing, I have to define the rule number. Okay, I have to define the rule number. Now let us say the rule number is 90. Okay, rule number is, now it should always be the multiples of 10. Remember, I cannot give rule number as 87 or something, not possible. So it will be multiples of 10. So now let me give the rule number as 90. And what is my rule number 90? My rule number 90 is saying, let us say that SSH, okay, SSH port, whatever, is denied. Got it? रूल नंबर 90 क्या बोल रहा है? SSH को डिनाई करो कहीं से भी. Okay, anywhere, from anywhere. Let me add one more rule. And now let me give the number as 100. Now ये 100 रूल में क्या कर रही हूं कि let us say again SSH should be allowed. Now see, now this is contradictory, right? So 90 rule बोल रहा है कि SSH deny करो and 100 rule बोल रहा है कि SSH allow. So now here what will happen? See, deny will always override, allow will not come here. Okay, it is not like that. Here rules are always getting evaluated in order. और अगर कुछ भी नंबर आपने नहीं दिया है तो डिफॉल्ट रूल ये होता है, द स्टार वाला रूल, जो सब कुछ डिनाई करता है. सो अगर आपने ये 90 और 100 डिफाइन नहीं किए हैं तो आपका ट्रैफिक बाय डिफॉल्ट डिनाई ही हो रहा है. नॉट अ स्पेसिफिक पोर्ट, ऑल द ट्रैफिक, ऑल द पोर्ट. लेकिन अभी क्या होगा? 90 इज सेइंग कि डिनाई करो एंड 100 इज सेइंग अलाउ करो. सो बिकॉज 90 इज द इन ऑर्डर, 90 पहले इवेल्युएट किया जाएगा, इसलिए एसएसएच वाला ट्रैफिक जो है वो डिनाई ही होगा. लेट मी सेव दिस चेंज. नाउ आई हैव क्रिएटेड दिस. लेकिन इसके साथ अभी मुझे ये जो डेमो नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट बनाया है, इनबाउंड रूल भी बनाया है उसके लिए, राइट? एंड लेट मी गो फॉर द आउटबाउंड. And outbound rule, again everything deny कर रहा है. So what I will do, I will create the outbound rule as. And in outbound rule, I will add a new rule. Again, let us say it is 100. And I just want to allow everything, all traffic, allow. Okay, so outbound को मुझे ज्यादा तंग नहीं करना है. Okay, let it go outside. So दो rules बनाए अभी, inbound as well as outbound. इनबाउंड में क्या डिफाइन किया, आउटबाउंड में क्या डिफाइन किया, आपने देखा. Okay, now let us see it. Let us see it. First of all, I have created the network access control list. But now this network access control list, although I have defined the inbound rule as well as outbound rule, I have to define it for the subnet. ये किस subnet के साथ जाए? Okay, that is very important. So let me create the subnet association. और हम एक काम करते हैं, पब्लिक सबनेट के साथ इसे एसोसिएट करते हैं. लेट अस से आई वांट इट टू बी एसोसिएटेड विद द पब्लिक सबनेट. ओके, लेट मी एसोसिएट इट विद यूएस वेस्ट to a public subnet. Let me save changes. Okay. So now we have created the network access control list for my public subnet in my Pune VPC. Fine. Now हम क्या करते हैं, अभी हम instances launch करेंगे. So let me go to EC2 dashboard. Launch instance. Let me use Linux server, maybe Linux 2 t2.micro. Let me use the key pair. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. I'm in North Virginia. Okay, so what I will do now, I will create a key pair then. Okay, actually, sorry, I need to change the region. Let me go to Oregon because my Pune VPC is in Oregon region. Okay, so let us say this is Linux server. Let me select Linux, Linux 2, T2.micro. Let me select key pair, network setting. Let me go to edit, default VPC. Now, no, sorry, not default VPC. It is Pune VPC. And now I will select Pune public subnet. You remember we associated that network access control list for this. Okay. I want public IP address to be enabled and security group. Let me select the existing security group, which I think I have already created. And you know, folks, now try to understand. This is very interesting. Now, this is going to be a very interesting lab. So, abhi humne kya kiya? What I have done right now. Try to understand, and now you will immediately going to give me the answer. Ye public subnet. Okay, this is the public subnet. And ये public subnet के साथ हमने NACL associate किया. And what is the rule? Inbound rule. Inbound rule, there are two rules, 90 as well as 100 as well as the star rule. What 90 is saying? 90 बोल रहा है कि SSH को deny करो from anywhere. 100 बोल रहा है कि SSH को allow करो from anywhere. And star बोल रहा है कि अगर ये दो नहीं रूल सेटिस्फाई हो रहे हैं सो एवरीथिंग विल बी डिनाइड. सो इसका मतलब है हमने सिर्फ एसएसएच के लिए डिफाइन किया है, एचटीटीपी या आरडीपी कुछ भी नहीं किया है. सो बाय डिफॉल्ट वो डिनाई होने वाले हैं. फाइन, बट दिस इज एट द सबनेट लेवल. लेकिन अभी मैं EC2 इंस्टेंस यहाँ लॉन्च कर रही हूँ एंड EC2 इंस्टेंस के साथ सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप आता है एंड आई एम सिलेक्टिंग दैट पुणे सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप. एंड यू नो वो सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप अभी जो मैंने इसके साथ एसोसिएट किया है उसमें 3 पोर्ट्स ओपन है, 22, 80 एज वेल एज 3389. सो ये तीनों भी पोर्ट्स यहाँ ओपन हैं सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप में. 3 पोर्ट्स आर ओपन. ओके, नाउ सी इट इज अ गुड वन. लेट अस से दिस इज 22, दिस इज 80 एंड दिस इज 3389. इसका ट्रैफिक अंदर आ सकता है, लेकिन ये ट्रैफिक अंदर आने के लिए पहले नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट को क्रॉस करना पड़ेगा. और नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट क्या बोल रहा है कि बाय डिफॉल्ट 90 को तो हम डिनाई कर. सो 90 रूल एसएसएच को डिनाई कर रहा है. सो एसएसएच यहां से ही अंदर नहीं आ सकता. सो हाउ इट विल गो देयर, राइट? सो ऑल्दो इट इज ओपन एट द सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप लेवल, इट विल बी ऑफ नो यूज. द थिंग इज दैट वो नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट से ही अलाउ नहीं हो रहा है. लेट अस सी नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस. ओके, now in this I will use this Pune VPC security group. Let me quickly show you that security group so that it is easy for you to understand कि उसके rules क्या है. Okay, so let me quickly show you the Pune security group so that it becomes much more clear. So if I go to security group and this is the Pune VPC security group. Okay, let us go and check the rules. So these are the inbound rules. See, SSH, RDP and HTTP, both these ports are open 22, 3389, 80 from anywhere. Okay, so this is what I am trying to explain you. ये तीनों पोर्ट्स यहाँ सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप लेवल के ऊपर ओपन है. ओके, सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप लेवल पे ओपन है, लेकिन अभी हमने जो नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट पब्लिक सबनेट के साथ लगाया है, ओके, सो दैट नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट इज नॉट परमिटिंग SSH traffic, right? So let us see now. Let us see. Let me use this one, enable. Yeah, this is Pune VPC, Pune public subnet. So I will use existing security group, Pune VPC security group. Fine. Just to make it little bit more interesting, what I will do, I will just add one script there. Okay, let me just attach one script as well. Let us see. Let us make it that much complicated. Okay, let us make it complicated so that it will be easy for you afterwards to evaluate everything. Okay, let me go to the script which is already there. Let me copy it. And we know HTTP port is open. HTTP port is also open. So let me go here and paste. Launch instance. And we will start. Now see, this Linux server got created in my Pune VPC in availability zone A. See, it is having that Pune VPC security group as well. Okay, so this is what has been done. Now, if I go to VPC and especially Pune VPC, let us quickly check it once. Okay, so Pune VPC. Now, if I go to subnet, Pune public subnet and Pune private subnet. So right now I have launched instance in this subnet. And this subnet is having the network access. Which network access control list? Demo network access control list. What it is saying? 90 has to be denied. 90 rule is denied rule. But for what? SSH. Okay. And 100 rule is allowed. Now let us see. Now what I will do? I will try to establish the SSH connection as usual. What we usually do. Okay. So let me just go to connect. EC2 instance connect and connect. See, it is not allowing me. So although the SSH port is open at the security group level, now my 90 rule, it is denying me. Now what I will do, see, I will simply go to that rule. Okay, 90 क्या कर रहा है? Deny कर रहा है. I will simply edit the network access control list. Let me go to network access control list. I will edit it from here and then I will refresh it. So I will go to this demo network access control list, inbound rule, edit inbound rule. And now what I will do, instead of making it 100, let me make it, let us say 200. Okay. Now, अभी क्या हो? अभी मैंने rule का number change किया है. Now, which rule will get evaluated first? 100 rule. और 100 rule क्या कर रहा है? TCP SSH 22 को allow कर रहा है. Okay, let us check it now. Let me refresh it first. Let me go to my VPC and let me go to my network access control list and let me refresh it as. Now see, now it is showing 100 as well as 200. So 100 allow कर रहा है. So ये satisfy अगर हो रहा है तो दूसरा rule check ही नहीं किया जाता है. Okay. Now let us try to establish that connection once again. So for that I will go to this. Sorry. Let me go to EC2 instance. Now see, it got connected. Okay. So हमने क्या किया है? हमने सिर्फ रूल का नंबर चेंज किया है. 100. So this is what I wanted to tell you. The rules are evaluated in order. जैसे रूल चेंज किया है, it is permitting. So अभी नेटवर्क एक्सेस कंट्रोल लिस्ट भी अलाउ कर रहा है 100 रूल. ओके. एंड सेकेंड थिंग, सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप भी अलाउ कर रहा है. दैट वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन पुणे सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप. सो एक जगह से भी पोर्ट बंद हो जाता है. So now if let us say I just close this port here. So what will happen? Again, I will not be able to establish the connection. So this is very crucial, folks. Okay. So in network access control list, actually you have two options. अलाउ भी मिलता है, डिनाई भी मिलता है. एंड रूल्स आर इवेल्युएटेड इन ऑर्डर. जो नंबर लेस है वो पहले इवेल्युएट किया जाता है, जो नंबर बड़ा है उसे बाद में इवेल्युएट किया जाता है. सो अकॉर्डिंगली यू हैव टू मेंशन द रूल नंबर. इज इट क्लियर एवरीवन?
Yes, ma'am.
ओके. सो नाउ हम ब्रेक लेते हैं पहले. ओके, सो लेट्स हैव अ ब्रेक फर्स्ट. 15 minutes break, and after the break I will continue with this, but make sure you are going to go for your attendance as well at your usual time. Okay, so after that I will just go through the canvas once again. We see, this is, as I told you, ये last बार अभी मैं VPC और networking, have your questions, जितने भी doubts है related to VPC, networking, network access control list, just come up with the doubts if you are having, and let us get it clear. Okay, so that you will not face any problem while facing the interview. 3 months is not a small time duration. आपने very important 3 months यहाँ बिता रहे, right? So you want some fruits of that. वो सिर्फ waste नहीं होना चाहिए. So just take your efforts. We want job in your hand, right? A good placement in your hand. So अभी आपके पास हार्डली उसके लिए 15 या 20 days है, मोस्टली 15. इवन within 8 days maybe we will be able to complete our entire syllabus. उसके बाद हार्डली आपको 3-4 दिन मिलते हैं. ओके, सो ये 8-15 दिन में फुल फोकस रहो. डू एवरीथिंग, डू योर बेस्ट. आई एम हियर टू हेल्प यू. आस्क द क्वेश्चन, वर्क ऑन योर बेसिक्स. Okay, see you after the break. Let us have a break for 15 minutes. Thank you. Hello everyone. Please raise your hands if you are there so that I can start. Abhay Kumar, Amisha, Bhupendra, Nikhil, Raunak, Roshan, Saad. Are you not there? Okay.